We're out here at Maker Faire 2013, and we bumped into someone who's pretty much an old friend, even though we've never met. So first, introduce yourself. Who are you, and where do you work?
So my name's Aviva Raskin, and I run a small company called Bloxes. I run it out of my garage. It's great.
So it turns out at Inventables we've known Bloxes for a few years now, and we knew it through her brother, Ava. But so tell us about the origin. Where did Bloxes come from?
So Bloxes originally started back in the 70s. My dad loved making cubes and building structures out of paper, but first he created them out of wood, and he whittled them out of blocks of wood and then took them from that into paper. And this is many, many iterations ago. At this point, we've completely redesigned them and are making them so that they're smaller and they're a little easier to ship. So he made some that were huge, that were probably about twice the size of these big ones that you see us sitting on here, which are about 9.5 inches square. And then the little ones are 4 inches, and they are significantly stronger. So it's really, really awesome.
Pretty cool. So coming from a family that invented Bloxes, you probably had an interesting childhood. We normally ask people, how old were you when you first started making stuff? So we'll ask you, how old were you when you first started making stuff?
I think I first played with the soldering iron when I was about 3. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend that everyone start playing with the soldering iron when you were about 3, but I remember I have very strong memories of sitting with my dad, Jeff Raskin, making little electronics boards and little hobby cars. I have a remote-controlled car that I made with him. My dad loved model airplanes. I don't know whether, do you know much about my father?
I do, but let's tell everybody else.
So my father, Jeff Raskin, was on the early Apple team, and the Macintosh computer is actually named after his favorite Apple. So he loved it. He was back from the East Coast, and it doesn't travel well. So out here on the West Coast, we don't see that particular Apple very frequently because they bruise easily. But yeah, so he just, Bloxes are part of that same work ethos and ideas of an easy user face and something that people can really interact with on a toy level, but not only that, but you can use it as furniture in day-to-day living. Right now, there's an art exhibit at the Getty at the Mac Center at the Getty in the Schindler House that actually has Bloxes, and it's all about the hidden innovation and architectural ethos of the 70s. And so it's a great exhibit.
So our follow-up question to that, first of all, you now hold the record for youngest maker at the age of 3, soldering at the age of 3. So congratulations for that. But we also then asked the second question, which is, did your parents encourage this kind of behavior? And the fact that you're doing it at 3, we're just going to put you down for yes. So before you're doing Bloxes, like 2 years ago, what were you doing?
I work also as a costume designer, so I was doing that and this as well. So I work with a couple of different theaters in the Bay Area, and I really like using costumes to create a message and encourage people to kind of see the world in a different light. So you can use stereotypes about how people dress and what they wear and kind of their body language and posture, and you can change all of that by putting someone in a different outfit. So I love it.
So as a costume designer, you probably have like a workshop that you worked in. What's your favorite tool?
Oh man, that's difficult. My favorite tool? Probably the seam ripper. A nice and sharp seam ripper can just take anything apart and then you can put it back together again. One of the things I absolutely love is doing forensic sewing. So in the theater, you get these costumes that have been used 20, 30 times by different people, and so they've been altered and made to fit perfectly to 20, 30 people. So taking that seam ripper and opening it up and seeing that internal aspect of what people have done over the years is amazing, and it teaches me so much. I relate it to what I was doing with my dad when I was little, which was taking apart computers and keyboards, and it's the same sort of a thing, and it's just amazing.
So what brought you to Maker Faire this year?
Maker Faire has such a wonderful energy, and there are so many people who do such interesting things. I consider myself to be a very small part of it, and that what brings me here is I love playing with Bloxes, and I love seeing everyone interact with them. But even more, I like meeting the other makers, and during setup and teardown, just everyone is talking, and when people come through on Saturday and Sunday, people ask questions, and it's really interesting and wonderful, and that's really why I keep coming back.
So now Bloxes have been around for a while, but it sounds like you're reinvigorating the brand and the idea. Why did you start bringing it back, or why did you bring it into like a formal production phase?
So I brought Bloxes into a formal production phase because I feel very strongly that everyone deserves a chance to be able to use them and interact with them. And I think that they're very relevant in today's society. So, not only are they mathematically sound and have a ton of engineering going into them, they're fun.
And then you can just to do a demo here, you can just kind of
mash them together.
Yeah.
So I've seen people, from about 3 years of age to 70 put them together.
And we're sitting on the big ones, so it's pretty unbelievable. You can just sit down on them.
Yeah.
Structures. So what's next for Bloxes moving forward? Maker Faire 2014, what are we going to see from Bloxes?
Well, what we'd really like to see is being in the dark room, but I'm not going to explain what exactly we mean by that, but that's where we'd like to be.
All right.
It's our goal.
Sounds very mysterious, so we're going to keep our eye on Bloxes. See you next year. Thanks very much for the time.